Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Joining me today is Nikunj Trivedi. He's not a stranger to PGurus. He has been part of many of our hangouts. Here he is in person, and we're going to talk about a little bit about what is going on in the CAS conference. Nikunj, man, you've been traveling. I know. we caught you just a moment before you're going to run for something else, and then you've got an early morning flight today, and then you're here,
tonight,
and then you fly back tonight. Very hectic lifestyle, and then you have other plans also. Nikunj, why is this conference important? Because there's a lot of interest, especially from the other side now, and the point here is we're actually saying the truth.
Yeah.
And but other side is going to great extents to keep hammering something that is patently untrue, that has failed in a court of law, yet they persist. I'm trying to understand the reason. Trying for this different result when you are failing again and again is insanity. Why is this happening right now?
Absolutely. See, we have to trace back it's a historic thing. There's a lot of Hinduphobia and anti-Hindu hatred against the community, and wholesale. Not even just individuals, but wholesale. So these players and actors are part of that entire kind of ecosystem. And they've been doing this for a while. If you remember 2021, the Dismantling Global Hindutva Conference,
right.
It's the same players, right? They summarily said that Hinduism must be destroyed, right? Hindutva is Hinduism, and therefore Hindutva and Hinduism both need to be dismantled. So it's the same kind of mechanism that has been in place for several years. What we are now seeing is the manifestation of those seeds. So those seeds were planted, call it 10, 12, 15 years ago, let's say, just on caste, for example. Now they're manifesting into full-fledged attack on us. And every single community member, especially if you are in a prominent position, if you are a CEO, if you are a important business owner, if you're a manager who's vulnerable, right? You are target of that. So this conference is really important for people to understand what it's at stake. Okay, we have to keep in mind that 99% of the people probably don't even know about this issue. Yet, the Civil Rights Bill, which is SB 403, as they're saying, a Civil Rights Bill, right? That's what they're billing it as. It's going to impact every single Californian. And what happens in California is going to be happening in the rest of the U.S.
Right,
so this conference is very important for, number one, for educational purposes. People need to understand what's at stake. The second thing is, why is this a problem? And third is, who are the players who are behind this and what can be done as a community. And I just mentioned to somebody that we are actually toddlers compared to the other side is full grown-ups.
Right.
And we are just coming in the game. But we are here now. So this is a great opportunity for people to come together. We need to be doing more such conferences. The other side does these types of conferences all the time. Virtually, physically, many different ways, and we are just kind of starting to do that. So I'm really happy the organizers put this conference together, and I'm looking forward to speaking a little later.
Wonderful. I have a specific question for you. There has been some really bad language used by Dalit Diva, Jane Marie Soundararajan, as part of some of her vitriol that she pours on people. I remember seeing a section of a video, and I want you to kind of, since you've been following her, tracking her more than I have, she says something to the effect that those aunties and uncles, we are coming after you. I mean, I can interpret this in many ways. What are you trying to say? What does it mean to me? I mean, you don't even know someone, and yet you've already kind of used the same brush to tar all of us. Why such divisive, why such vitriolic language and gestures?
See, again, there are some people who are ideologically motivated to essentially dismantle us. And she happens to be one of them. She is part of more of a bigger game, essentially, if you want to call it, where there are other players who are not in front. They might be in the back. They're organizations, they're well-funded state players, potentially, who are behind this entire thing. And we're discovering this more and more as we go. Some of the records are out in the open, others are a little bit more hidden. And that's number one. Number two is she has created I would say, a profit game on this. It's a profit-making business. Because if you are going to be the one who is going to be involved in sponsoring a bill, no matter how hateful you are, right? If this was with anybody other community, she would have been canceled in 5 seconds. and her career would have been tarnished, everything would have been gone. If you had said something like this about any other community, you would be accused of Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, so many things, and you'll be canceled. But the fact that you've seen that video, and there are two videos out there,
Right.
you know, the first version and second version, where she clearly talks about, you know, basically like how coming after uncles and aunties, our sacred scriptures are violent, and they advance hatred and violence against different people, so many different things. I can go on and on. But the point is, she has made this a profit-making business. So now you're going to draft the law. And who's going to come in and teach people? So think about all the caste trainings in corporate America, in universities, etc. Who's going to be doing that? It's their team. So they're looking to mint a lot of money out of this thing at the end of the day. See, it's all about the money. The hatred is being translated into money because they have a career. They have made a career out of this thing. I mean, you talk to real Dalit people, Dalit groups and stuff like that, and you will see some of them here. They will tell you she's actually anti-Dalit because she has actually been talking about the same tradition, destroying the same tradition that a lot of the Hindu Dalits follow. Right? So, our Dalit folks who we know, they consider her to be anti-Dalit actually.
One of the things that she uses, which is sort of like very unfortunate in my opinion, is to equate a last name with a caste. Now, this is for all those lawmakers, your staffers, anyone who wants to know about caste. Ask yourself this question: how many last names are we very familiar with? Baker, Butcher, Smith. How many of them are still indulging in the same profession that they were named after perhaps hundreds of years ago? Right? None, probably. So then, if that is what has happened in the West, how do you expect the Indian or South Asian, whatever you want to call it, Indian I'll say, that because of your last name, therefore you are this? I mean, this has been disproven that, what your assumption was wrong. I mean, take 𝗤𝙗𝙗𝘼𝑔𝙗𝑒's last name, right?
Yeah, correct.
𝙤𝙗𝙗𝑉𝘀𝑟𝑎jan is used by just about everyone in the south of India.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, her premise itself is wrong. And yet, she's the one who's going to be drafting laws. I have real concerns about this, that even assuming in whatever diluted form this bill gets passed, and this is the lady who is going to be guiding the Googles of the world to say that this shall be your template, I have a problem with the template. What do I do?
Have you seen their caste
Yeah, you
training?
and I are the ones who are.
Yeah, remember
at the
we talked
front
about
of
that in the
it. Yeah.
PGurus. Remember
Yes,
in the
yes.
session I had shown you a slide and
Yes.
the table of caste training, and that's exactly right. How do you identify caste oppressors? Is by their last name, by their dietary habits, so many different things. So all of a sudden, you're going to be targeting every single CEO, every single manager, et cetera, just because they happen to have a last name. And it doesn't stop. Civil rights laws are not meant for one generation. They are meant for generations.
Right.
So as long as there is even one word caste in SB 403, we are going to be completely against it. It doesn't belong there. There are existing protections already there. You can put a lot of different other categories, but caste. Because caste, 9 dictionaries out there associate caste with Hinduism. Not even India only, specifically Hinduism. So you're telling me that you are somehow not going to be discriminatory against people of Hindu background? That's completely nonsense. So there's a lot of proof there. Remember, not only the premise is wrong, the survey has been discredited since it actually started. The Equality Lab survey was discredited even in the beginning. The problem that we face is that all this data is there. However, the political leaders simply either are paid off or they have been bought into this garbage, ideologically or whatever the case is. Their political careers may be threatened, whatever the different combinations are. They're just not listening to us. They're giving us a lip service where we are going and having meetings, and we have had so many meetings. But at the end of the day, they go and vote against us. Even though the data is there, we have shown the data. Now, there is a fundamental problem. It is not about logic, and unfortunately our community is all about logic. We would love to explain people that we are good people. The moment you start explaining somebody that you're a good person, you lost. Because now why are you explaining to me that you are good? That means there's something wrong with you. Other communities don't do that. And that's a challenge we face. We keep explaining. It's like the Kurukshetra. How many times did Krishna explain to Duryodhan that this is a bad idea, this is a bad idea? The guy did not listen. Then you go to war. we have to think about the Kurukshetra for us. We are done explaining. How many times are you going to explain? Because that's the challenge. The premise is wrong. You have an openly Hindu-hating person on record on the video that is out there. And we have shown these videos to lawmakers, but they are closing their eyes and just voting. Because if you had some iota of logical understanding that you are interested in, you would say this is completely wrong. So that's where the challenge is. So the community needs to now change its tactics. Forget about logic, because logic doesn't work in Kurukshetra. This is a Kurukshetra. You have to go after certain other things, whether it's political, organizing, whether it's emotional appeals, whether it's lawsuits, whatever the case is, you have to do that.
You actually segued me into the next question. Today we are here, we're going to discuss this, and of course the videos will be out there. But if you have to give a simple message to the community out there, I mean, many people have suddenly seen that this has hit him between the eyes. Sort of like, what? Oh, really? My children's future is in jeopardy? Especially in California. And like what you said, what happens in California today is going to happen to the rest of the United States in 10 years.
Correct.
So I want you to kind of tell 1, 2, 3, do these things to the average Hindu American. Go ahead.
So, first of all, as you said, it's about a future generation. Like my daughter, born and raised here, just like that, there are many different people who are born and raised here. It's really about them because, first of all, they don't understand our culture in many ways. But now, all of a sudden, they're going to be born guilty. Just because somebody has a last name, you're basically born guilty. It's like the Criminal Tribes Act that the British had. You know, you're born guilty of a certain crime, no matter who you are. So now you're born casteist. So what I want people to do is, first of all, understand what's at stake. Number one, just go to certain websites to understand. You know, we have CoHNA's website, there's a castgate.org website, so much information about this. Second thing, don't think it cannot happen to you, because we have proof that has already happened to people. Would you like to be the next Sundar Iyer? That's what I tell people. Because Sundar Iyer is an atheist who just was minding his own business, even hired Dalits, but he got sued. For 3 years, his reputation was tarnished. He spent millions of dollars litigating stuff. So you could be the next Sundar Iyer. Don't think you're going to be exempt from this. The third thing is, if you're not interested in this, then you do not have a right to complain when it happens to you. Do it for your kids. If you're not interested for yourself, if you think this is never going to happen to you, frankly, that's a mistake. But do it for your kids, because if it doesn't happen to you, once the law is passed, it can happen to your kids in the future when you're not around. So those are the few things that I can say. Read, learn more about it, get involved, get the information, and do it for your kids. And don't think it's not going to happen to you, because it can happen to you or to your kids.
Wonderful, Nikunj, and I wish you all the best and safe travels. You're traveling a lot these days, and I look forward to your talk in a few hours' time from now.
Yeah, no, of course.
And always a pleasure seeing you in person, in flesh.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Namaskar.
Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you.